teachers, what is the weirdest thing you've had to take away from a student? It was December or January and we were having one of those lockdowns where the police come in with dogs to sniff for drugs. We were all locked in our classrooms and no students were allowed out, even to visit the restroom. One of my students was white as a ghost, very afraid. I asked him what's the matter, but it was obvious he was afraid he was about to get busted. He said, "Do you think the dogs will go to my locker?" I said, "I don't know. Do you have something to be worried about?" He said, "There's a ham and cheese sandwich in there." I scratched my head a bit. "I'm sure it's no problem to have a sandwich." He said, "Yeah, but it's been in there since September." I've answered this question before, so I figured I'd just copy/paste. Well, this is my fucking time to shine. My coworker and I had a mild prank war going on. Somehow, the students caught wind and decided to instigate by stealing things from his room and taking it to mine and vice versa. Here are some of the things I've had to take from them and return to him. His car keys. His entire desktop computer. Portraits of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. Pumpkins from his Halloween decorations. His desk chair. His car keys again. A student desk. His travel mug with his name on it. At this point I'm convinced my coworker just doesn't want his car. And somehow, in the 5 minutes between his class and mine, they managed to flip all the desks in his classroom upside down. I'm not making this up. Another student's tooth that he had fished out of the trash can that he was going to add to his tooth collection. Not me, but my co-teacher tells the story of having to take a vibrator away from a student during band class. The only reason he knew the kid had it was because the kid tried to play the xylophone with the thing. My mother was a primary school teacher. One day many years ago she was working as a supply teacher filling in for an absent teacher. It was late 80s and Casio watches were all the rage. Every hour, on the hour, many watches would sound a chime to signal the start of a new hour. My mother had been hearing chimes and alarms going off all day, and she announced, "Our next watch I hear beeping is coming home with me tornado." Moments later a watch chimed. It was my brother's. Eyeballs. I worked with a blind student with autism. When he would get angry, he would pop out his glass eyeballs and throw them across the room. They were expensive, so mom asked that we put them in a plastic bag in his backpack. If he threw them, no more eyeballs for you today, D-carrot. I had to take away all the plastic forks at lunchtime until the 6th grade boys stopped shoving them down the butt cracks of their friends. An entire menagerie of live insects. One afternoon my class decided that they should see how many bugs they could capture and keep alive in my classroom. The next day, I returned from covering lunch duty in another part of the school and noticed that one of the cupboards had paper towel taped over the front like a curtain. Before I could investigate, I noticed several Tupperware containers hiding in desks. Dozens of worms, that was the cubby. Many assorted beetles. Uncounted ants. 4 bees. A wasp. And, most upsetting, several flies which were crazy glued to index cards and had their wings removed. That was a long day in a long year. Instant pudding. My student was mixing it in a large Cool Whip container, using milk from lunch, right in the middle of a lesson on Macbeth. A whole salami. Kid kept walking over to his backpack and sticking his face in to take secret bites without me noticing. I noticed. This is my brother's story, and he was the kid. It was a sandwich bag full of spiders. He collected them during recess, and one of the monitors probably got freaked out. There was a boy in my 7th grade class that was not allowed to have coins because he would eat them. One kid had a live snake in his desk. He grabbed it at recess apparently. This was an hour later. First thing that came to mind, a drawing of a peanut. One kid said he had a peanut allergy, so a boy drew a peanut on a piece of paper and started shoving it in the other boy's face and being a general dick with it. Handcuffs. From an 8-year-old girl. Not quite police grade, but more than just some adult funo cuffs. Sent that down to the counselor. A small trinket box, about palm-sized, decorated with gems and glitter, with a live mouse inside. The mouse was named Jimmy and had been caught in the children's house. A real gun I thought was fake, luckily unloaded. More scary than weird but. Christmas ornaments. They were throwing them at each other and it eventually caused a fight. Next to that would be a curtain rod. He found it and kept hitting people with it. A plastic statue of the Virgin Mary with the face melted off. It was so bizarre, I kept it in my desk for many years. A wine cooler that looked like a Capri Sun. This was a second grader and she was just getting ready to drink it. 27 bottles of Axe and cologne from a 5th grader's locker. My sister's teacher had to call my dad about a suspicious powder my sister was eating out of a bag at school. She was dipping her finger in a bag of powdered jello and eating it and letting other kids do the same. A girl had about 50 plastic spoons in her pocket. She tripped and tea all fell out. We all found it hilarious, but a high-up teacher was walking by and made her pick them up. She was going to anyway and put them all in the bin. He was probably very confused over the whole situation. Chef's knife stuffed in the waistband of his sweatpants, no underwear, during a snowstorm. Obligatory not a teacher, I'm an EA, educational assistant, in a school. Plastic spoons. Asterisk HUNDREDS of THEM asterisk. I still don't know why, but one grade 5 kid came to school with his backpack stuffed full. Nothing else was in his backpack, not even his lunch. He hung it on the back of the chair and pulled out a spoon and was fiddling around with it instead of doing work. So I took the spoon away. 10 minutes later he has another one. I took that 10 more minutes, a third. The teacher took it away. 10 minutes later another. You can see the pattern here. I finally opened his backpack when I saw him grab the 6th or 7th spoon and the bag was full. Obviously the teacher had to call home since he had no lunch. Mom comes, looks at him with just resignation and goes why as she hands him his lunch. He shrugged, grinned, and walked back to class. Mom is clearly used to it and has learned to go with the flow. A giant head of lettuce that just suddenly appeared on his desk. Where did he get it? Not a teacher, but a friend of a teacher. A letter to his other friend about how he once masturbated in class. They are extremely awkward now. On a kindergarten class, and lunch has just finished, so the kids are coming into the classroom and this boy walks in with the biggest grin on face holding a toilet paper dispenser from the bathroom. He was quite a small kid, and he was clearly struggling to hold it. Me, where did you get this from? Him, it was on the ground. Female student, miss, one of these is missing from the girls' bathroom. Ziploc bags filled with water. That was a trend for a while at my school. Kids would claim they needed it in case they got thirsty, but usually would just try to pop them in each other's laps during class. A can of deodorant. Yeah, probably thinking a thatter is not that weather, except that the two kids were using it by spraying it on the back of the other and then setting fire to the thing. In the middle of the class, they did not see any problem with it because it only stays lit for a few seconds. A gigantic plastic bowl with an entire box of Cheerios and 2 pints of milk in it. He thought he could somehow sneak this snack without anyone noticing. Not a teacher, but my 3rd grade teacher had to confiscate a dead rat from a kid in my class. I, to this day, have no idea where the kid got it from. A kid brought blue Gatorade in a Windex bottle to lunch on April Fool's Day, and we had to take it so younger kids wouldn't think it was real. Thank you so much for the awards and upvotes. I never expected this. Not a teacher, but in 3rd grade the teacher had to confiscate all the origami cranes in the room because one kid decided to make and sell them at $0.25 a piece. He got caught when he started selling on the playground. I thought it was fucked up we had to give up all the paper cranes in our desks, but we didn't get our quarters back. I named mine Swan and was very sad to see her go. Panties. They had fallen out of a girl's gym bag in the previous class. When I came in the room, after standing duty in the hall, 3 boys were flinging them back and forth across the room. Never a dull moment. I'm not a teacher, but I taught my friend in 8th grade how to make pipe cleaner caterpillars. Since our school was discarding hundreds of bags of pipe cleaners, she found them all, put them in her backpack, and made these caterpillars. The only thing is, she made around 1,000 of them, until our teacher realized. The teacher tossed them in the garbage. But they just changed it, so while the teacher wasn't looking she grabbed them all, and put them back in her desk. During my student teaching, I had to utter a sentence I never imagined, which was, guys, what did I say about looking up satanic rituals during class? They were a great group, though. It was a group of 4 8th graders who said they had created an occult detective agency and were doing research just in case. My only complaint was that they were doing it in science class instead of actually doing their work. I've told this story before on Reddit, but it really fits here. One of our 3rd grade teachers had a little boy come to her desk first thing in the morning with an object in his mouth that he was blowing on to make a noise. He said something like, "Look, Mrs. Smith, I found this nice whistle in the Worcester basket at home." Mrs. Smith recognized the object as an applicator for a product used for vaginal yeast infections. The children went to gym class soon after morning announcements, and Mrs. Smith noted that the object was left on his desk. She threw it away in the teacher's workroom and called his mother to let her know for the future so that she could take more care with her trash.